Hello and welcome to Euro 2020 Happy Hour Last Orders, and we're live with my. I love doing that. With myself, Sham, FPO 2 Guys 1 Cup,
and myself, Rob, otherwise known as FPL Panda.
Rob. So this is our second live, and you're pretty fucking wankered, mate.
I'm all right. I'm all right now. I've just spent an hour sobering up, mate. So I'm all right. Okay. I'm ready to go. Let's go.
Nice. I was a bit worried at one point the stream wouldn't go ahead tonight. Yeah, kudos to you for actually sobering up. Right, before I go through the schedule for tonight, let me introduce you to our two guests for tonight. We are joined by Matt at Clean Sheet Wipeout and James at FPL Drug, and they form the podcast Season Keepers. Hello, boys. How are you?
Evening.
Good, thank you.
Awesome.
Evening, guys.
Thank you for joining us. So before we start, do you boys want to just introduce yourselves, who you are, what you do, a little bit about FPL, etc., etc.? Boys, are you there?
You go first, Matt?
Yeah, it completely froze on my end, so I've heard nothing of what there. But yeah, I think we're obviously the season keepers. We're best mates, so I've known James since we were 11, I think. And then when he moved up north with his missus, we thought, you know what a way to keep in contact. We'll make a podcast, and gone for the season, chat about FPL, chat about Sky. And going to change it slightly for next season. I think we're going to make them a little bit shorter, 2 pods a week rather than the one, and go from there.
Nice. James, anything to add on that?
Yeah, I think I was the first one to sort of dip my toes in the FPL community. I think I joined 1 year before Matt, just because I was sick of using my personal account to sort of bombard people that don't care about FPL. So, I think I joined 2 or 3 years ago, and I've loved it ever since.
Nice. Right. So thank you very much for joining us, boys. And actually, just before we continue, you guys are one of the 4 podcasts that are going to be joining with on Planet FPL's podcast as well, right, during the summer?
We are, yeah. What an opportunity he's been giving us.
Yeah, that would be good fun, and hopefully it will help all of us out with kind of getting the wider audience known to us. Right. So as you guys can probably see, Rob has updated. I'm getting some feedback, Rob. I don't know where that feedback's coming from. But as you can probably see, Rob is showing the graphics that are kind of rolling. They've been updated with the latest stats. You'll see the group tables and the assists and the top goal scorers, etc. And I think points as well, Rob, but not including today. Is that right?
Yeah, there's nothing with today's fantasy points because the UEFA site is just as bad as FPL. Well, actually, they're a lot worse than FPL. And so we have no updated fantasy points as it stands. But we might see them come through, but as we head towards the end of the stream. But it won't be updated on the graphics because I can't be bothered to do it. To be fair.
Yeah, fair enough. That's a fair point. Right, so let me talk you through the schedule for today. So we're going to review the previous 7 games so far. We've then got a picture section which we actually need your help on for 2 reasons. Firstly, we're going to be asking you guys to send us photos of something that you found funny. We've found some already that Rob is going to upload, but also we need a name for this section rather than just the pictures section. So if you've got a good name, let us know. Drop it in a comment or whatever, and the best name we will choose. Then we're going to talk a little bit about captaincy and sub dilemmas, because I know a few people are kind of undecided about when do they stick and twist on captains, similar to subs, when do you stick and twist. We'll then show our teams and we will then do a Q&A. It won't be as long as the other night. We're aiming for about an hour roughly, so it's not going to be a full-on show like we did the other night, which was almost 3 hours.
Well, it's going to be a full-on show, but it's just not going to be a fucking
show. Right, so let's get reviewing then. First off, let's go with the Italy-Turkey game. James, talk us through the Italy game. What were your thoughts, I guess, fantasy and non-fantasy related on that one?
Yeah, bit of a cagey first half. That does tend to happen at the start of the tournament. I expected a lot more from Turkey. A lot of people were saying they fancied them to be dark horses or to at least perform well, and they just never really posed any attacking threat to Italy whatsoever. And we know Italy are good defensively, but I think they'd struggle to challenge another team's defence, to be honest. I think they were very lackluster.
What did you think of Insigne and Immobile and their position? Do you think Immobile is a fantasy option going forward, or do you think it's better just to kind of stick with Insigne?
I think I prefer Insigne of the two, but I wouldn't advise against Immobile. I think he's a good player, and obviously he's kind of like a target man really up there. And yeah, he linked up well with Insigne. I think I've seen a lot of Insigne before, but yeah, it's just his movements fantastic.
I really, really liked Spinazzola as well in that game. I thought he was just incredible and getting into such good positions. Matt, what did you think of the game? Any added thoughts? What did you think of Spinazzola? Do you think, I guess, in terms of options going forward for Matchday 2, anyone from that game that kind of stands out for you?
I think you make a great point about Spinazzola. I largely ignored him stupidly because I was a bit worried about the rotation with Emerson. And I more considered Florenzi. Kind of glad I didn't in the Euro game because that went badly. But I think with Insigne's position, obviously it allows him, he kind of just drifts, whereas Spinazzola is just hugging that touchline, and yeah, he looked unbelievable, almost like, I guess, prime TAA, I guess.
Yeah, I was hoping to see something from Turkey that I could look at for Matchday 2 and 3, but nothing kind of stood out for me in terms of, it's difficult for me to take anything away from that game as any potential options for 2 and 3 other than what I had thought before the start of the tournament. Rob, any thoughts on that game?
Yeah, I mean, like the guys have already said, it's like Immobile and Insigne were like huge standout. Spinazzola was just incredible. He at times in that game, he was almost playing like a left forward. Like you had Spinazzola playing as left forward, and in the first half you had Chiellini like almost playing like a left midfielder or a left fullback. It was it was strange, but it just showed what Italy are about in this tournament. I think they're out there to kind of just go, right, against teams that we believe that we should beat, we're just going to come and get in your face, and we're just really going to just go at you until we can break through. I think they may have hoped to break through earlier in the game. Yeah, Turkey in the first half, they did defend really well, but yeah, I think it was just a case of when, not if, Italy did score, and yeah, they could have had 4 or 5 at the end of the day. I mean, I don't know what you guys think, but it should have been a lot more comfortable a lot earlier in the game, maybe.
Just quick thoughts before we move on to the next game. Match day 2, a lot of people are looking at Limitless chip. Are we taking anyone from Italy or Turkey into that? So Italy plays Switzerland, I believe, and Wales or Turkey. Anyone from that game that you still would rather keep for the Limitless? Any of you guys?
I think I'd probably take Spinazzola, to be fair, and maybe even Insigne. I think.
Yeah, those are the two I'm thinking about as well.
Yeah, even against Switzerland, I think Italy will turn them over.
Yeah, I'd imagine them to get a clean sheet as well.
Okay, let's move on to the next game, and that was Wales and Switzerland. Rob, tell us about that game.
So yeah, I was really disappointed in Wales. I'm going to be completely honest. They were very negative. I'm not sure whether it was because Switzerland maybe came out and tried to really take the game to Wales, but I would have liked to have seen the Welsh maybe try and just keep control of the ball more. They didn't seem like they really wanted to really attack the Swiss at all throughout the game. So it's really disappointing from their point of view. From the Swiss point of view, I think Mbolo has just shown that he's a big asset in this group stage. And if the Swiss go through, he could be great value going into the round of 16 as well. He caused a big hassle around that Welsh defence throughout the game. And yeah, Shaqiri as well performed well. I have him in my team. Yeah, I would have liked maybe a little bit more from him, maybe with how negatively the Welsh played. I think it's a big alarm bells for the Welsh side moving into the games against Turkey and Italy. If they don't try and really sort of play out of themselves a bit, I think they'll really struggle in those two games. I could see Italy really doing some damage to them. Yeah, it was just disappointing from them, especially when there's so much potential there to really take the game to some people with some of the forward players they've got.
Is there anything from Bale? Anything that you saw from Bale that makes you think he's worth an option against Turkey?
Not at the moment. He just seems very isolated, and we know that this Welsh team it's not full of stars. There's there's Gareth Bale, and then you've got players like Aaron Ramsey, Dan James. That yeah, they're good players, but they're not at that standard that he's at. There was a few times that we saw Bale like looking for a pass that they maybe don't have the ability to actually make that pass. We saw that a couple of times yesterday. I think that if Wales are going to progress further in this tournament, it's either they're going to have to buck their ideas up as a whole, or Bale's going to have to like be a real standout performer.
Okay, boys, anything to add on that?
Nah, I just think Wales will be disappointed given that is probably the easiest game that they were going to get in the group. And obviously not to get 3 points, I think it makes qualification quite difficult now.
Match day 2, no one to look at from Wales and Turkey then, Rob, in your opinion?
I do like Kiefer Moore.
But he takes up a striker slot, right?
He does that. That's the problem. I mean, he's great value, and everything like going forward with that Welsh side. Everything aims to get him on the end of it.
Shout out to our Wales rep Carwin, who pointed out Kiefer Moore as a really good option. He said if you want a differential pick, if Kiefer Moore starts up top, he'll do well.
Yeah, and he took his goal really well. It was a great header. He showed a determination because the head injury in the first half, just to stay there really. But I think Wales on a whole, I think it's a bit of a concern leading into Matchday too.
Okay, right. Let's talk about the Denmark game. First of all, we're so relieved that Eriksen is okay. I was watching the game, and I don't want to talk too much about this game really, but I was just stunned. I was distraught, and I think a lot of football fans across the world were. So the main thing is, that Christian is safe at the moment. As far as we know, everything is well and stable with him. I don't think you can take anything out of the game from a fantasy point of view, just because Denmark were all over Finland before that had happened, and then after it restarted, I think it was a bit of it was a shock for the Denmark players, and I don't personally think they should have continued and played on. I'm not sure quite why they did. Clearly, that obviously they wouldn't be in the right frame of mind to do so, but I don't think we can take anything out from this game. I still think Denmark players are good options. But I don't know how well they're going to do going forward without Eriksen. That's my only concern. Rob, anything to add on that?
Yeah, I mean, I completely echo those thoughts. It was, I think, for everyone, whether I think any football fan, I think for a couple of hours yesterday, time stood still. I think it was horrible. But yeah, I mean, for Denmark moving forward, it's hard to see now how they're going to progress in this tournament. Sadly, they're obviously going to struggle, I think, psychologically through this whole ordeal. And we spoke about briefly with at FPL Cycling in our preview pods. He did say how important Christian Eriksen is to that side, and I'm just wondering whether the fact that he's not there will they have that threat going forwards. They've obviously still got that stability at the back though that we spoke about, and I know a lot of people in the community have spoken about before as well. So yeah, I think those are still on the Denmark defence. Those that are probably on the strategy that will lead them back onto Denmark defence into matchday 3. Yeah, I think you're okay, but yeah, obviously those that have got Christian Eriksen in their teams, maybe in fan team, more than anything, I think there's some big questions to be asked over the next couple of days as we move towards matchday 2.
I guess the only other thing to talk about in this game is the Radecki penalty save, which got a lot of players 13 points. Matt, James, anything else to talk about from this game and your thoughts?
I think you've generally covered it, to be fair, from my perspective. Yeah, I think Rob makes a good point about the Danish defence. I think that last game might be key for them. And obviously, I know we spoke about Eriksen being pivotal, but they may well, use that as kind of a push to move forward. And with that third game being so crucial, potentially they might take some inspiration from it and get the win, which they might need to, finish second in the group.
I think it puts a lot of pressure on that Russia game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big game now for the Danish. I think they're going to have to really regroup, and I think we'll find a lot about this Danish side because a lot of people were like tipping them for the quarterfinals because of the strength of their defence.
I was. Yeah.
And so I think if they can make it through the group stage now, I mean, you can't imagine what these players are going through mentally at the moment. And yeah, if they come out and produce a performance against Russia, I think I'd still back them moving forward.
Okay, let's move on to the next game, and that was Belgium v Russia, and Belgium won 3-0. Matt, you're going to talk us through this game. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it didn't take Lukaku long to break the score sheet, and I backed him to be top goal scorer in the tournament. And I think he looked sharp. Obviously, 10 minutes in, gets his goal. I think Belgium were largely dominant throughout, to be honest. Turns out that Jason Denayer isn't as nailed as we all thought. I think that's been a frustration across the community. Yeah, Beata obviously stepped in. I think it's because he came out saying that he's used to marking Juba. So obviously that was quite key. He's played against him quite a few times. The other one, which I know a few people have lucked into, is the fact that Castagna picked up that horrendous eye socket injury. Mounier then stepped in. Yeah, the absolute jab. I know James is jammed into that, but yeah, the absolute travesty.
How much jam from that? Like ridiculous.
Clean sheet, goal, assist. Didn't even start.
Should be good for the rest of the tournament as well.
He will, yeah. I mean, that's his spot nailed because Castagna's out for the tournament now, and yeah, Mounier will absolutely step in there. Other than that, I really like Tielemans as a player. I'm not sure he's an asset in terms of Euro fantasy. I think other players around him, may kind of pick up a few more points. And obviously, we saw Eden Hazard come on for the last 10 minutes. They managed to get a 3-0 win largely without Hazard and obviously without De Bruyne. Whether we see De Bruyne in the groups, I'm not so sure. Moving forward, though, I think he'll be rested, which is huge for Belgium. If they then go into the last 16 with a fit and fire in De Bruyne, then yeah, I think they can take on anyone.
James, what did you think of that game, other than what kind of Matt has said? And I guess another question to that is, Matchday 2, they're against Denmark for this limitless chip. Do we go with Lukaku? Because those forward options are really kind of sparse. A lot of people are looking at double France attack, and obviously you've got Kane as well, potentially Depay. Is Lukaku worth a spot against Denmark when, obviously what's happened, but also historically, like Rob mentioned earlier, they have got a good defence there.
He's definitely up there. You've got to think whether Denmark are going to be as strong as what they would have been. I mean, that is a factor. And obviously, Lukaku was very strong in this game, performed very well, carried on his sort of form that he's had for his club. And I think you'd be kicking yourself if you didn't pick him, and then he did return, so he gets a brace against Denmark. I think I prefer him to the likes of, say, Depay.
Yeah, fair enough. Rob, are you going to be having Lukaku, and have you got any other thoughts on this game?
Matchday 2, I'm still unsure on Lukaku, but I think he's like really stated his case there as a top contender for the Golden Boot for the tournament.
Yeah, agreed.
That first chance, his first chance, and he takes it. Like I joke around sometimes, and I say that he scuffed it. Because I think he did scuff it. But he's the type of player, he can scuff a shot and he can still put it in. He just puts it into the right spot in the goal. And I saw it as a United fan, I saw it a few times. He just has that knack of being able to find the net. And yeah, moving forward, I think the result last night against Russia, I think it relieves some of the pressure on trying to bring KDB back too soon. I'm not sure we will see him in the group stage. I think we might see him in matchday 3 maybe, and then in the round of 16. I am concerned about Eden Hazard though. I think when he came on, he did not look anywhere near the player that we're used to in the Premier League. And as we spoke to Joachim before this tournament started in the previews, he said that for Belgium to run deep in this tournament, they're going to need a fully fit Eden Hazard. That's just a bit of a flag to me, I think, at the moment.
David and Epiel Glasto both say jam, and David says jam on toast with the Meunier goal, assist and clean sheet. David says Lukaku's dedicating his goal to Eriksen was a lovely touch. Yeah, I saw his interview today and I thought it was great as well. And Steve says possibly the best striker in the world, ? I think at the moment he probably is. To be fair.
Until we see Robert Lewandowski, was it tomorrow night?
Yeah. Right, let's move on to the next game, and that was today's game, England and Croatia. England winning 1-0. Rob, talk us through the game.
I was
pissed.
I think when I saw the lineup, there was obviously a little bit of doubt in my mind, but I know exactly what Gareth Southgate was trying to do. He basically trying to set a foundation for this team for the rest of the tournament. I think the way that both Rice and Phillips performed in that holding midfield role, neither of them showed any reason that they shouldn't have been picked for today. I think they were both brilliant. Phillips in particular was just, I think it was one of the best. Well, it was the best performance from him in an England shirt. In the handful of caps that he's got. But on the whole, I was really happy with the performance. We had that counter press, especially in the first half. I think we were unbelievable. Every time that Croatia managed to get the ball back off us, we were straight away on top of them and going to get the ball back off them. We didn't let them play out at all. Everything that they had going forward was a long ball that we were fairly easily able to deal with. I was impressed. I think I'd have liked to have seen us maybe try to kill them off a little bit more. I think that Sterling had a couple of half chances in the first half. The people I was with, I was saying, like, why isn't this guy just toe poked it with his left foot? Because he had a couple of chances on his left that just stick your toe through it, see what happens. Where he's trying to cut back inside on his right foot. But I think there's so many positives to come out of that performance that moving forward, I think we've got to keep confident about this England side. We know that it was nowhere near the strongest side that we could put out. The likes of Chilwell, Shaw, Sancho, Grealish. There's so many names that we could be even considering into the starting lineup that weren't there. I think that in the games against Scotland and the Czech Republic now, the pressure's kind of off now to maybe have a little bit of an experiment and try and tear one of these two teams apart. Maybe I think it's just there to be taken now. The points are.
James, what was your thoughts from a fantasy point of view? Kane was almost anonymous in that game. He didn't register a shot on target, and I don't know if he registered a shot at all. Is he still an option for that Scotland game?
Very disappointing, but as we know, like Kane is capable of scoring 2, even a hat trick in any game, I'd say. But Scotland, I think he's definitely going to be up for it. That added extra bit of motivation. I think he's capable. You just wouldn't back against Harry Kane, would you?
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. I think David said in the chat that Foden had a really good game and he's going to have a great tournament. Matt, anything to add on from what's been said already?
No, I think it's a great point about Foden. He was incredibly unlucky not to score. Obviously, hit the post early on. I think for me, the most disappointing player was Kyle Walker. I thought he had a bit of an off game. Passes going astray. Seemed to be blaming teammates when really, his passes were the ones that were missing the targets. And the talk before the tournament, I think, was it's either Rice or Phillips, and they're kind of competing for the same spot. But I really liked the way that they had set up, obviously with Rice in front of that back four, and Phillips to just go and play his game.
Oh,
and obviously we saw,
we're losing connection.
There we go. No, we're back on.
You back?
Yep,
Yeah,
we're all good.
I was just saying, I think there's so many options with England that it worries me from a fantasy perspective as such, because, I mean, Rob's just listed 5 players that didn't play today that I expect will get minutes in the next 2 games. So I think other than, say, Kane, potentially Foden, and maybe John Stones, I don't know if I'd touch anyone else from a fantasy perspective.
Fair points. Right, let's move on to the next game then. Has anyone got anything to add, from that England game? Or that's pretty much it. Right, let's move on to the next game then. Matt, let's talk about Austria and North Macedonia. What's your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, quite a good game, actually. I enjoyed watching it. Obviously, not what we expected. A lot of us had double Austrian defence to start with, and seeing that team sheet, David Alaba, obviously centre of a back three, is not what we expected. A lot of people, picking him up because we believed out of position, strongly plays left wing. In fairness, in the second half, he showed us that when he moved to left of that back three, he kind of pushed forward a little bit, and his cross was unbelievable for the goal. The only player I'd like to note that I've seen in a lot of teams, and he's in mine, was Bachmann. I wasn't that impressed. Yeah, I wasn't impressed at all. Obviously, it's his spill that led to the Macedonia goal, and I just didn't think he looked confident at all. Whereas the likes of Sabitzer, I think he could have a really good tournament.
James, any thoughts on that game?
I was quite impressed with Macedonia in the first half. They're playing some quite good passes, some passing moves for a team that considered kind of maybe one of the worst teams in the tournament going into the tournament. But Pandev, natural goal scorer, fed off the scrap that came his way and put it away. I believe that's his. He's now the youngest goal scorer for Macedonia in a tournament.
You stole my line, you prick.
There you go. It's a great line.
Love
it. Right. In terms of so we've got Holland and Austria next. What did you think of that Austrian defence? Do you think there's room for exploitation from those Netherlands attackers that's still worth getting at? Either of you? I'm not going to ask Rob because he was drunk.
Genuinely, I think there is. I mean, obviously, watching the Netherlands-Ukraine game, which we'll come on to, I think Netherlands are so attacking that they're going to get goals against Austria at the end of the day.
Right, okay, let's look at the final game, and that was a cracker this evening. It's just finished. Holland 3, Ukraine 2. James, what did you think of that game? Let's talk us through it.
Fantastic. End to end, both halves. Ukraine showed a lot of character to get back into the game and made it the game it was, really. Yarmolenko, fantastic performance from him. What a goal. I looked at him as an asset before the tournament started, but his price put me off. He's quite expensive. I think he was, 8.5 million from memory, which just, deterred me. But credit to him. He's a good player and he's a selfish player, which we obviously like in terms of FPL. Not afraid to shoot and scored a brilliant goal.
What was your thoughts on Depay, Matt? Because he was he seemed to have a lot of the ball, but no end product. I don't really know what to make of that from him.
Yeah, frustrating. I don't own him in the Euro game, but obviously I'm playing fan team, and I've got him in, I think, every fan team that I've got. I think it was one of those performances, obviously, where we saw Weghorst up top. He becomes kind of the focal point of staying forward, whereas Depay obviously very much likes to roam, pick up the ball. And he had a couple of chances in the first half, but as the game went on, I almost felt like he was kind of coming deeper to kind of pick up the ball, whereas the likes of Wijnaldum were the ones that were obviously getting the chances. And I fully expect Depay to get goals in this tournament, but perhaps this was obviously the most difficult game that they're going to come across. So he maybe felt that he had to be more of a playmaker than he did, pushing forward.
I really like Dumfries as well.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what price he is, but looking at that Austria game for game week 2, I'm thinking of having Dumfries in there. He looked really attacking. He had 3 big chances in that game, and should have scored his first one, which is like a sitter, and obviously scored the winning goal. Rob, were you sober enough to watch this game?
I caught little bits of it. I don't think I'm the best person to comment on it, because I think I was still riding a wave on the England game earlier.
Okay.
But from what I'd seen as I was like setting up to get the stream together, the Dutch, I think they showed a lot of heart. I think going 2-0 up and then Ukraine then coming back and making it 2-2 to then go out there and get the winner. I think it just showed a bit of heart from this Dutch side that we maybe doubted a little bit pre-tournament. So I think they've got something to show now, that they're not going to just lie down and take it. They're they're going to move forward.
Yeah, David said Weghorst over Depay. We are geniuses, Rob.
Yes,
I believe you chose Weghorst.
Yes, I may have been a genius.
Just one more thing that I want to talk about with regards to this game. Ukraine are playing North Macedonia. Again, a lot of people are going for that game week 2 or match day 2 limitless. Are there any players that you guys are looking at, and who? Because Matt, you mentioned earlier about Yarmolenko and his price, but obviously with the limitless, we don't need to worry. Are we going with 3 Ukrainian 2, and who are you thinking about?
For me, I'm targeting 2. I think I may well go Yarmolenko and Malinovsky. I think Malinovsky was exceptional, and obviously a lot of people are looking at him this tournament. He's had a brilliant season with Atlanta. Moving forward, I fully expect him to be the creative player that Ukraine need, and I don't think they'll have any problems getting 6 points out of the next 2 games for them and finishing second in the group.
James, any thoughts?
Yeah, just Yarmolenko for me. Obviously, I mentioned his price put me off, but obviously with the chip, that no longer.
Oh, it was you. I thought it was Matt. So,
right. Yeah, I'm looking at Yarmolenko. I think whilst Macedonia did play some good football, I think they could easily be done by Ukraine on the break.
Cool. So that's all the games wrapped up. Is there anything else you boys want to discuss with regards to the games that we didn't talk about?
No, I think we've covered it all.
No. Perfect. Okay. So now it's time, Rob, for the pictures section, which we need a name for. So if you've got any names in the chat, please drop it in. Rob, you're leading this section, so for once, I'll let you do the talking.
Yeah, well, we decided that we needed something just to maybe try and break things up, and especially in these streams where we maybe have less to talk about because we're mid game week, as it were. So yeah, let's see what we've been sent in and maybe get some comments from yourselves and from the chat. I'll start with, I mean, I think the best way to start was maybe to comment on the opening ceremony. It was, I mean, it's not something humorous. I think I got absolute goosebumps from the opening ceremony. I'm sure
I
most
didn't
others
even
did.
watch it.
You didn't watch the opening ceremony.
No.
Get
I was
yourself.
with the kids. I was busy with the kids. I didn't get a chance.
Get yourself on YouTube now.
I'll watch it.
Andrea Bocelli. I think Matt, James, you probably agree with me. Goosebumps. It was amazing. It was a great moment.
It's one of my favorite classical songs. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
I think the whole atmosphere. I think it was a great start to the tournament. At the end of the day, I wasn't expecting it. And at first, when I heard, oh, Bocelli's going to sing Nessun Dorma, and you think, oh my God, here we go again. But it was just one of those moments. It was just complete goosebumps, and then it was followed by the remote control car.
I saw this bit. I tuned in like a minute to 8 o'clock, and I saw this, and I was like, "What the fuck is this?"
It's Insignia's Uber.
But I actually found out who was actually driving the remote control car. So should we see once they wham down the window? Should we see who it is? It was Jamie Carragher.
Was he spitting at someone?
I don't know. Hopefully not. But this was sent to us by, I think it was by our rep, James Johnson or James Joe, our Italy rep. He sent this to us, which is Carragher driving the VW with the match ball in it. So yeah, it amused me.
Yeah, it was quite funny.
Then we've got what else have we got? We've got the Italians. I think it was as an England fan. This is something that it really disappoints me that as our national side they don't seem to really like go for it with the national anthem. Would you guys agree?
Yeah, I think the God Save the Queen song doesn't really help the matter either. Obviously, with the Italian national anthem, it's very passionate. You know, they go for it. I can't imagine making those faces while singing "God Save the Queen."
I mean, I don't know who that is on the left of the image that everyone can see. I mean, the poor lad at the front.
Yeah.
He doesn't look like he's enjoying it. It's either that or the guys behind him are just shouting too loudly. But yeah,
I've just had a thought. This is terrible for podcast listeners because they're not going to see any of the images that we're talking about.
YouTube.
The guys that are watching the podcast, like, get to our YouTube channel and you can see exactly what we're talking about right now. I mean, it's the passion that's shown. I mean that on Friday evening, and I commented a couple of times to the friends I was with today watching the England game. The atmosphere in the Stadio Olimpico, it was something else. Considering it was like 16,000 people, I think it was. Like, you could hear that atmosphere. At Wembley, you wouldn't think there was any fans there today. I think it's something maybe as England fans we should maybe try to learn from. Like, get in there and like try and create that atmosphere because that could be the difference between winning or losing. And the other night, that atmosphere in Stadio Olimpico, it was brilliant, and the Italian team, I don't know whether they would have performed the same. I expect they would have performed the same had there been no fans there, but that must have been a spurring on for them going through that game because they performed brilliantly on Friday night.
I think you make a great point with the home nations. Obviously, a lot of people have mentioned about targeting home nations, but like you say, with England, I never find that Wembley is that cauldron that people are scared of playing in anymore.
Yeah, yeah. I've been to Wembley numerous times, and I think the best atmosphere I ever experienced was before it was the 2014 World Cup qualifiers where we played Poland, and Rooney and Gerrard scored. It was when Rooney had his head strapped up, and then Gerrard scored right near the end. And that was probably the best atmosphere I'd experienced at Wembley, and it was purely because the Polish fans there was probably about 20, 30,000 of them, and they were
The
giving it
best
some.
experience that I've experienced at Wembley was a Capital One Christmas ball. I tell a lie. It was actually when West Ham beat Tottenham 3-2. That was an amazing game. Yeah, not with England though.
So anyway, and then on to this picture. It's some Finnish fans, and one of them with a owl.
The fuck?
I don't know why this fan chose to bring an owl to the game, but it was obviously a lucky charm in some ways because they came away with the win. A bit strange, but we hear this about lots of international teams. They bring some weird things to
How
games.
is it allowed in the stadium? That's what
I don't think it's a real owl. It's obviously not a real owl. It's fucking plastic, mate.
Never know.
And then
right, what's next?
we've got I don't know who this is. I don't know where it came from. You just sent it to me, and I put it out there. So
I saw it on WhatsApp. I found it quite funny.
I've just got it labelled as guy in a flag.
Very patriotic.
So yeah, it's a guy dressed up in all his gear, and then I've got one final one. I'm just trying to find where I put it. Oh, have I got rid of it? I think I may have got rid of it.
No.
We might have to bring it out at a later date.
You got rid of it?
Yeah, I think I've got rid of the final one, which would have been humorous, but we'll bring it out on Tuesday for you. We can, because you haven't seen it. You haven't seen this image. Only I've seen this image.
All I know about this image is I sent an image to Rob about. So basically, I put for those that listened to the last pod. I basically kitted the front of my house out with loads of England flag. Well, it was like 5 England flags all over, and I sent it to Rob. And I know that David has made a meme out of it. I haven't seen the meme. I have no idea what it is, but this is apparently what this picture is about. But
yeah. So yeah, we'll have to maybe wait until Tuesday evening to see it. I think I deleted it when I was setting up because I was being really professional and stuff.
Right. Any other pictures? That's all done.
That is it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's move on to our next section then. Thanks for that, Rob. And that is captaincies and dilemmas. So I just wanted to talk quickly for 5 to 10 minutes on this section because a lot of people have been in the community talking about, whether or not to stick or twist with certain captaincies. Similar situation with regards to subs. I've seen some really horrific, which actually I did send to you, Rob, like a horrific teams that people don't know the rules, that like captaining the wrong players and they're not realizing. Like I think someone captained Ronaldo when they got loads of other players to play, and then had loads of people on the bench that had already played when they could have just subbed them in. So what's your guys' thoughts on captaincy? I'll go to you first, Matt. When do you stick? When do you twist? Or I mean, you're smiling away, so maybe you're not the right person to talk to about it. I don't. Have you had a mare with it?
Yeah, absolutely. I originally captained Insigne, and obviously I wasn't that happy with just a single return from the first game, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to have some fun with it. And in fairness, if I win this, obviously we know it's unlimited Just Eat for a year, isn't it? I've only got 3 Just Eat options in Dorset and
so you're not that bothered.
No, they're not that great, so I don't really give a shit. So yeah, for me, I'm having a bit of fun with captaincy, and obviously, unfortunately, I went Christian Eriksen to start with, which was a shame, and then today I went Vindal. Obviously, he got benched. Genuinely, tomorrow I think I'm going to go Che Adams, knowing full well that I've got Cristiano Ronaldo for the final game against Hungary, and the aim was probably to always captain him anyway.
I don't know if you've got Nego, but
fun.
what about Nego for the final day instead? I mean, you do want
don't
fun,
have
right?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I made sure I had a playing bench, and just as well with the shithousery that's gone
on. James, what do you echo Matt's fun thoughts, or are you more methodic when it comes to captaincy?
I always did have kind of Ronaldo in my mind towards the end, but however, I thought if any player kind of scores 2 goals or gets 2 returns, that's it. I'll stick. So I twisted Insigne to Lukaku today and yesterday, and I'm happy with Lukaku.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I was very much of the mindset of I think we spoke about it before, didn't we, Rob? A double-digit haul, and then you stick. And then I think that's probably the safest way to go, which is why I've kind of moved off. I think a lot of people though are like wondering what the cutoff is. If you get match day 1, if you get 8 points, how far do you go, and at what point do you stop? So, for example, if you've got 5 good captaincy options, and match day 1 you get 8 points, but the time you get to match day 3, if you then get another 8 points from that player, do you stick or twist again? And I think for me, it kind of the number goes down. So, for example, if Lukaku didn't score well yesterday, but then Depay scored 8 points today and I'd captained in, I'd probably stick on Depay. I wouldn't then move on again because now I've got 1 or 2 less captaincy options. So I think it kind of the more time goes on, the less gambles you take. I think is my opinion. Rob, what do you think?
Ben Crellin put out a tweet on Friday evening that kind of just summed it up, and it was basically first day you look for 9 points, the second day 8 points, the third day 7 points, the fourth day 6 points.
Yeah.
And if you're not meeting that, then it's gamble on the next one. And if you are meeting that or surpassing that, then stick on it. And I think that's it's a good model to follow. But you've also got to remember who's coming up for you. Like, it's. I think we had a perfect example this week with Insigne. He was heavily owned by lots of people, and then I think it was a bit of a conundrum whether to stick or twist, as the hashtag has been in the community. But yeah, I think it's in general most people did twist and go, right, I've got Lukaku, let's go for it, and we're rewarded. But I wouldn't have I'm not against people that stuck on the 8 points. I just think it depends how you want to play this game. I fancy being really aggressive with your captaincy picks because, as we said before, you're going to make or break your rank for the game in these group stages, and being aggressive in the group stages maybe pays off a lot more than trying to be aggressive later on to catch up.
What's thoughts on subs then? So I think we're all in agreement with regards to captains, apart from Matt. What's regards to subs? Do you have is it kind of 2 points, 1 point, 3 points? Where's your limit there? Where you would, what would you be happy to lose to sub in a player? James, we'll go to you first.
I think anything below 4, I think, is subbable. I think. Okay. 4 or above, I don't want to sub it out. I don't think. This rule sort of did make me think and maybe consider having a sort of a stronger bench than normal, because obviously the general tactic in FPL games is to have quite a weak bench, so you can maximise the value on the pitch. But for this game, I think, a strong bench definitely comes into it.
Yeah. Matt, are you in agreement in terms of points?
Yeah, hit the nail on the head, I think, with a strong bench. I guess the other important thing to note is remember the game days that these people play, because I've saw people on Twitter today that have subbed in João Cancelo for players that have already played before obviously the announcement was made that he's now out of the tournament with COVID.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't play until Tuesday. So why you're then subbing him in 2 days before they're due to play? And I believe we also get to see the Hungary Portugal lineup before. So it feels a bit wrong to be to making those substitutes. So yeah, just be wary of the dates that these teams play.
Cool. Rob, anything to add before we move on to the next section?
Yeah, one thing that I have like thought about in the last couple of days is when you've got your bench. I think you should be looking at bringing players on at the like you should be bringing those players off of your bench at the last available opportunity. So, for example, I've got let's quickly go to my team. So I've got Jason Denayer sitting there on 0 points.
Well, hang on, Rob. We are moving. Our next section is our team, so you might as well, as you're there, talk about your team.
So I've got Jason Denayer sitting there on 0 points. I'm just going to use this as like a little example. Now I've got my bench with my 3 Portugal players sitting there. Obviously, Chesney is not getting a look in ahead of Radecki.
Unbelievable.
But I wouldn't be looking at bringing those Portugal players in until Tuesday. I won't be doing it tonight. I will not be doing it tomorrow.
For Denayer, who got 0 points, but why not?
Because I want to see what. Well, it's kind of a good example, but a bad example at the same time. So, for example,
but if he had 1 point, for example,
if Pau Torres goes and gets a red card and gets a minus points, I want him to be coming off. And
so interestingly, my understanding is if they get minus points, you can't sub them out. I might be wrong, but we need to double check the rules.
I think you can, as long as you can sub them out for other players.
Right. Okay. Fine. I need to double check.
But yeah, you don't want to be subbing players in or out until you're definitely sure they're going to be starting. And in this case, yeah, we're going to see the Portuguese lineup. So, like, I mean, at the end there, I'll probably take the gamble. We know that Cancelo is out with the tournament now. He's been replaced by Dalot in the Portuguese squad, which, I mean, yeah, Cancelo's trolling everyone again from the FPL season. But yeah,
we wish him well, by the way.
Yeah, but yeah, I think leaving it, those subs that are on your bench, leaving them till the last opportunity to bring them on into your team, it just works to your advantage a little bit more because, if I wanted to quickly make that sub for Denayer, let's just say, I want to bring Silva in for Denayer, Pau Torres gets red carded, scores -2, I think it would be, or -3. I'd actually prefer to have Denayer in my team at 0 points than I would Pau Torres.
Yeah.
Does that make sense to everyone?
Yeah.
It's just something that I suddenly thought of, and like even if he didn't get sent off, he just conceded for some shocking reason. Sweden go and win 6-0, and you still want to move him out for someone else. So I wouldn't be using those substitutes unless it's the day that those players play. Just hold off on them and just see how it plays out with the rest of your team.
Do you want to talk through the rest of your team? What's your thoughts on? Are you happy how it's gone so far?
Yeah, I'm pretty happy, to be honest. I haven't checked my rank as is now, with Veghorst returning this evening, but I was sitting in just outside the top 5k as of, well, before today's games. I'm happy that I wouldn't say it's a gamble to come off Insigne and then put the captain of Lukaku paid off, because I think I was I was going to do that. I had my heart set on moving anyway. Shaqiri got a return, which I was happy with. Carrasco, disappointed with. Kajaya and Marla. Um, yeah, I don't think we can take much from that. I still think it was the correct choice to be going with two Danish defenders. We could never have predicted what was going to happen in that game. Um, I'm I'm really confident moving forward, knowing that I have Ronaldo and Bernardo Silva to come on at some point, for whoever my low scorers are, which at the moment it looks like it's going to be Danea and probably Carrasco.
Okay. Whose team's next, Rob?
Let's go with, I believe this is Matt or at Clean Wipeout FPL.
It is, yeah. As you can see, I'm having a bit of fun with the old captaincy, as I've already said. So yeah, I chose not to captain Lukaku. And yeah, for me, I've already taken out Jason Denayer because he didn't play. And obviously, contrary to the fact that we now know about Cancelo, I chose to bring in the two Spanish players just because at the end of the day, I'm taking out a player that hasn't played anyway. And that was before I saw that Vindal obviously hadn't started. I think he's come on for a point, so I get two there. Yay. But yeah, I'm going to jump it on Che Adams tomorrow, probably. And then knowing full well I'll be captaining Cristiano Ronaldo on the final day. And obviously, with you lot hopefully sticking on Lukaku, I'll be praying that Ronaldo outscores him.
Yeah,
I wouldn't even go against Ronaldo outscoring Lukaku, to be fair.
Yeah, neither would I. James, let's have a look at your team. Rob, press the button.
Yeah, wise, I don't really have any dilemmas because 3 players didn't play, so they kind of have to come in. Grealish, yeah, I kind of, in hindsight, maybe shouldn't have picked Grealish. A bit of a risky pick. Maybe there's safer options out there that are around his price. But yeah, obviously Cristiano Ronaldo to come in. I'll be keeping the captaincy on Lukaku. I think it would be a bit of it to twist on that 10 points. But yeah, relatively happy with how it's gone so far. That Italian clean sheet is what I was hoping for, with Bonucci and Donnarumma, and I imagine they'll get. That's supposed to be the toughest game, so I imagine more clean sheets to come.
Cool. Right, let's look at my team then. So I think I'm on like 56 points. It was going okay, and then Alioski didn't do anything. I had the triple Danish defense, which obviously I was disappointed with in terms of what happened, but it doesn't really matter, to be honest. And the fact that Radecki got the penalty save and the clean sheet, it kind of made up for it anyway. So I wasn't really that bothered. I had Yaziki in, and then I took him out for a 1 pointer. Now I don't really like. I was always gonna take him out anyway, so it doesn't really. I'm not really losing anything, even though I've got Alioski there with 0. I'm not really sure if I could have done anything differently there, because I was always gonna bring in Alioski anyway. Yeah, I was looking forward to Cancelo coming in, but obviously he's now out, so it's just Ronaldo, and I'm hoping Zielinski tomorrow is going to be a bit of a differential because no one else really has him. Yeah, not a bad start, but I'm hoping to. I'm always hoping to beat Panda, so Zielinski to score a hat trick tomorrow to beat Rob, right? Right. that is it with regards to the show. We've got we've only got one question in the chat, so we might as well answer that question. Okay, it's from David. He asks, right, let me bring it up. Does having limitless budget make you more inclined to pick the expensive players that might not be necessarily better than the cheaper option just because you can? Good question. James, I'll come to you first. What do you think?
Psychologically, yes. I think that's going to have an impact. The players that you would have maybe gone for, the cheaper ones, just because, like Yarmolenko suddenly becomes an attractive option, is a good fixture, and his price no longer matters. So, I think I will be probably filling my team with quite pricey players.
Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, I think prime option would be the difference between Depay and Weghorst, for instance. Obviously, there's a considerable difference in the price there. If you've got a limitless budget, you're probably more likely to go Depay, or I think the majority would anyway. And again, maybe similar for England, a lot of people will probably gamble again on Harry Kane without, taking the punt on, say, Raheem Sterling. So it'll be those choices.
Although I really like Raheem Sterling for that option because he's more expensive, and I originally was looking at Foden, but after today, actually, I think Raheem Sterling is a very good option with the limitless. Rob, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's easy to get kind of drawn into using that limitless too much, as in like trying to pick players for the sake of picking them because of their price tags. I think we really need to just keep an eye on how these players are performing. And like you said, someone like Raheem Sterling, for example, that he might not have had the like end product earlier in the game, but he was putting himself in those positions throughout. And with England having the slightly easier fixture against Scotland, we say it's easier. I'm not sure it's going to be, but players like him could be like a little differential to go against Harry Kane. Moving into Matchday 2, I'm not sure. Would you guys go against Harry Kane with Sterling for Matchday 2?
Might go both.
I mean, you could do. What do you guys think, Matt, James?
I'm back in Scotland, as you probably already know, mate. Honestly, I'm Scottish at heart, born and bred there. I'll always support England through the tournament, but when Scotland play England, I've got to back my country. So,
Rob, why didn't you tell me this before the stream? So I made sure I didn't let
We're still Friday is a long way away. We've only just got over the first game, but I'm really looking forward to Friday now, especially after seeing how we performed today. I think it's gonna. I'd like to see how you guys perform tomorrow afternoon. I would put myself out there and say that I'm going to back the Scots for a surprise win against the Czech Republic tomorrow.
No, it's going to be 1-1.
No, it's really bothered me that so many people are writing Scotland off before we've even kicked the ball, saying how poor we are. But I think we'll beat the Czech Republic.
I think you will too. Hence why I've got Adams and Armstrong in my team.
Adams for a hat trick, yeah?
Yeah. Seamus Adams.
Right, before we end the stream, boys, have you got anything else that you'd like to add? All three of you? Nothing else?
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for inviting us on, mate.
No worries. Matt and James, do you want to tell people where they can find you if they want to find you? That is.
Yeah, we're on Twitter at Season Keepers, and then if you search us across most podcast platforms, the Season Keepers, you'll find us there.
Awesome. Thanks for coming, boys. We really appreciate it. It was great having you on.
It, boys.
Rob, anything to add, my friend?
No, it's I've sobered up a lot in the last hour since we've been on. Yeah, it's been great having you guys on to talk through these few opening games. Yeah, there's a few talking points and things that we can take forward into Matchday 2 and Matchday 3. Like we said, before, I do think the Denmark-Finland game in particular, I think we should kind of ignore it as a fantasy, um, like something to learn from for a fantasy option. I think it's if you plan to stay on the be on the Denmark defence, I think you just stick with it because they've had that extra time just to process what's happened. But yeah, I think it's generally been a really good start to the tournament with a couple of exciting games. I know that I didn't watch and pay enough attention to the Netherlands game this evening, but it was a exciting game, and hopefully over the next couple of days we're going to see some really good games as well. I'm really looking forward to Scotland tomorrow and then Portugal on Tuesday.
Nice. Right, so our next live stream is on Tuesday at just after 10 o'clock, I imagine. We've got FPL Serpent and at Half Hour FPL Podcast joining us. So that would be good to have them on. To listeners, thank you very much for joining in. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share and retweet as usual. Till Tuesday. See you then. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.